Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Jana-gana mana अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता. पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा. विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा.
And good evening. Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati NIRMALA SITHARAMAN ji. She had an hectic schedule in Washington DC, at the World Bank and IMF and other important meetings for a week. We are thankful and grateful for taking time to visit San Francisco despite pressing engagement ahead.
Different environment, because I'm talking of about 30 years ago. Saturdays used to be the day when we used to refill the stores in the house and put all the clothes into the washing machine and dry it and press it. And Saturday was a toil day, but toil at home day. So in spite of that, I'm sure that's changed now. You're all doing it much more evenly through the week. But even then, Saturdays being part of the weekend, I'm glad you were here. But thank you very much for it. Jai Hind. Thank you very much. What exactly are we doing for women businesses? I think by now CG would have given you all the data to prove, because I think there's a lot of natural curiosity, not just to hear the claims but also to have data validation for every one of the claims. So I won't get into the data validation now, but I will give you the data so that you see there is enough corroboration for the claims that I'm making. Whether it is the Mudra scheme which we launched, which was to finance without collateral small businesses, and in that it was all across the country, not only in metropolitan towns, in tier 2, tier 3 towns as well, wherever the banks could find a client suitable for the Mudra scheme, and they were mostly women. And women or men coming into Mudra scheme didn't have to pay any collateral at all. That is one thing. So women benefited by it. Similar was hawkers and street vendors in India who have never been given any financial inclusion. We not only opened accounts for them but also gave them something similar to Mudra, where again without collateral they could take money from the banks, and I'm happy to say in both these the non-performance is very minimal. So there is that appreciation that this loan is being given for them. They don't have to fall prey to the middlemen who really extract a very high cost from them, and interest rates are very forbidding. But banks have come into that. NBFCs are also joining in that. So Mudra, Swanidhi are two classic examples of how small businesses, particularly for women, have stood by their financial requirements. Venture capital and private equity in India had met up with the Prime Minister and also discussed during the budget consultations. And as an outcome, in the budget we had announced that we will now form a very high-powered committee which will go into seeing how the venture capitalists and private equity in India can contribute towards policy, also highlight the friction points and be able to ease it out for them. So I quite welcome, venture capitalists from here, particularly those of Indian origin, to tell us if there's anything that you want us to do. That will help. capacities for production of solar energy has been well achieved. The nationally determined commitments given in Paris COP21 are almost near achieved. 400 gigawatts of solar energy is not a small number to reach. And post Prime Minister's COP26 in Scotland, we've actually gone ahead with expanding on our capacities in the MNRE area. However, the transitional energy which we thought was the natural gas today has become very expensive and it's not sufficiently available as well. So the withdrawal of dependency on coal will probably now have to take slightly longer than what it was estimated to be. So that is where we are. We are not seeing any reduction in the interest of investors to come to India, particularly for the renewable energies.
In order to get over the problems which are legacy issues in the distribution of electricity. As you know, in India, there is a set of companies which generate power called the GenCo. And those in each of the states which distribute power are called DISCOMs. So the DISCOMs having dues to the generating companies has actually brought in a mismatch in the supply consumption balance and the payment balance which has to exist. For everything that you buy, you pay, and you pay in such a way that they are able to do their activity and keep supplying you. But there has been some mismatch, and the mismatch has been mounting. And I take this as one example to say, because of continuous engagement with departments, with the state governments, the mismatches are now being addressed, and the gaps which are, meaning the arrears which are mounted, making the GenCos hard pressed for money, for being in a position to generate adequately and give it in time. Because that got affected, this had to be done. So the central government, through its respective departments, in this case the Power Ministry, engages with the state governments to talk to them to get this ironed out.
As regards crypto, I have made an announcement in the budget that the central bank will issue a digital currency. As regards anything that is happening outside of that domain, consultations are going on. We have neither banned them nor have we regulated them. The process is on. Yes, of course they'll be taxed because there are transactions happening. Some income is being earned, profits are being made, so we tax them. But about regulation, we have not yet made our minds up. Money in the digital arena, as we see it, is when it is backed by a government or when it is backed by the central bank. And in that, the regulations will be embedded into what the Reserve Bank of India is going to come up with. What happens outside of it is not money. They are crypto assets. And in that, if there are going to be issues related to money laundering or issues related to money being directed to be used for terrorist activities, they will all have to come in some kind of a regulation.
On that, the work is going on. We have not finalized it. But I certainly did mention it in the conversation that I had with, being in a panel along with IMF chairperson, President Kristalina Georgieva, and with 2 other panelists, that these are concerns that anyone will have when you're talking about crypto assets, right? So what we are trying to do is to do the consultation and take a call on how we want to handle it. Ban it, regulate it for what, all that has got to be done. Indian flag bearing ships are not very many, in fact there are very few. And to remove those constraints of why there wouldn't be so many shipping liners which are with Indian flag, a lot of work had already started, and equally it was recognized that whatever be the flag a liner carries, nearly in 75, subject to correction this particular statistics, nearly in 75% of them, the Indians are the ones who are staffing, the Marines inside those shipping lines, managing those vessels are largely Indian or probably even Filipino. So Philippines and India are the 2 countries which contribute in a very big way to the entire globe's shipping liners being operated and kept floating. So the Ministry of Shipping had already started working on these 2 aspects. How to have more flags carrying our vessels carrying our flags, and get more miners trained and have them working in Indian ships as well. So they're progressing well, that much I can tell you. Many of the restrictive regulations through the law or through the rules have all been amended, and incentives have also been given for having these mariners being trained in India itself, so that for their training they don't have to go somewhere else or pay huge fees for it. There are regulators who monitor the stock market. The regulators also to take care of board-driven decision-making in companies. After all, when FDI comes, it comes to companies which are doing businesses. They get a seat in the board, and when decisions are being taken by the board, they are transparent and available for everybody to see. So the board-driven process itself, which is well regulated in India, takes care of the safety of the money invested. Thanks for the 3 pictures, Mumurtis as we call them in Tamil. They are the classical composers of classical Carnatic music. Just can't but say this, they really are relevant even today for the kind of bhakti, true devotion, which is what is the person in the middle, Tyagaraja, is. Nothing but pure surrender in the name of bhakti is what he did, and of course achieved a certain, what I can call moksha, because he had the darshan of the God, who he so fondly engaged with. In fact, he was called by a lot of people, even today he's referred to probably as Hanuman, because he was so devoted to Sri Rama, and it is believed that wherever his songs are sung, whether we हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, महसूस करते हैं कि नहीं, महसूस करते हो कि नहीं, हनुमान जी आ जाते हैं. You feel it, you don't feel it, but it is believed that Hanumanji comes whenever you sing Sri Tyagaraja's Kirtana. So that is the person in between. Now, I will not miss the opportunity to talk on Muthuswami Dikshita because lonely planet, right? All of us look to know about which planet, what, where, what is the uniqueness about them. Every one of Muthuswami Dikshita's compositions was like a complete tourist guide of that place. Meaning, he spoke about the main god or goddess of that temple in any one place. He's sung almost about most of the famous temples. And in that temple, as you all know, and I'm standing here talking to proud Indians, every temple has a main god and a goddess. Somewhere the goddess has more prominence than the god. But never mind, the temple is built, worship happens. Main story or the main power, which is the goddess's power or wherever she derives it from, are all described in his songs. But even more, he will tell you about the sthala, meaning that sthal. He'll tell you why is it that particular place is so important. Then he'll also tell you what is the sthala vriksha. Now you all go about searching for sacred groves. Every temple had a sacred tree. And in some temples, we are told at least that 600-year-old tree, 800-year-old tree are still alive. And that tree has a particular reason why it is there. So that would also be part of his song. Then that song is itself considered to be like a mantra. Something about that song, there is a bija mantra, a seed mantra in it. So even as you sing it, it gives you that mantra which is by the very ucharana, by the very pronunciation of it, that mantra's vibration gives you some kind of a neurological strength. So Muthuswami Dikshita's, each one of his songs has a bija mantra in it, has his own name signed in it, just as Tyagaraja also has it, and a sthala vriksha story in it, and also a story about who's the main deity or who's the consort of the deity and why are they so revered. Everything comes in Muthuswami Dikshita. He composed in Sanskrit, he composed in few in Telugu, he also composed in Tamil. But Tyagaraja composed only in Telugu. Only in Telugu and only about Rama, Rama, Rama. Alright, I go to the last and I finish with that. Shyama Sastri. Simply unbelievable kirtanas. Whoever worships and you say Jai Mata Di, Vaishnava Devi or anywhere else, if you just can listen to Telugu, listen to Sanskrit, Shyama Sastri's kritis. He just pours his heart out, imagining that the mother is in front of him. He just pours. You should listen to some of his songs. And the sentiment expressed in it will get a tear in your eye. Just great affection for the universal mother. The collection of his songs are unbelievable and they are all on Ma Bhagavati. Of course, he calls her different names. So these three people are literally the last word for Carnatic music compositions.
Everyone in this room, most of us are made in India. You met some people in the last few days, you will be meeting some more people who are made in India. Again, the proof is in the pudding. These people are going to make the made in India a investment or intellect to take India on the path of prosperity. We promise you, we commit to you, keeping the spirit of Bharat alive on the global platform.